Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamiva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, all that is full. All this is also full. It's out of fullness that fullness comes. And when fullness is taken away from fullness, then only fullness remains. So this is a question answer. I did this particular peace prayer because one participant had asked me, can we do something about the Ishopanishad? And that, of course, is the peace prayer relevant to that. But I think I have done some 5 sessions on Ishopanishad and recorded somewhere. Anyway, since we are not having question answer this coming Saturday, Sunday, this session is question answer. So as usual, I'll mute the microphone so that you can formulate your questions as necessary.
I have a question about when we have to make a decision, let's say about job or relationships or friendship, if there is any kind of, let's say, ABC or something like that, that we can feel, I don't know 100%, but that you are making the right decision. Or even though sometimes we feel our gut feel that, oh, yes, but it's like we need to give the first step and you are not pretty sure. If there is any kind of advice or something to follow to feel secure.
So the normal way that we view other people in our particular circle and other events and scenes is really viewing ourselves in isolation and the necessity to view others in relation to that. So that's a normal way of thinking. And all of our information and knowledge, even with regard to this matter, will come from Vedanta or Upanishads. Now, the Upanishads have a very curious way of dealing with things. They realize that the highest teaching is not easy to understand, but very simple. What are these 3 principles in the Vedanta? Well, there's only one principle. This principle, we can't describe what it is. We call it Brahman. And then you see the essential principle in you is one and the same with that. And then the third thing is Mithya. This world is not what we think it is. It is a changing thing and runs on apparitional causation. What has this got to do with your question? Everything, because our starting point in dealing with other things and other people is, if we want the best from it, to get out of the struggle component of this. In other words, instead of thinking that you're isolated, you have to think that everything is integrated and one. Everything fits in like a jigsaw puzzle. You see, there was somebody visiting from the country, visiting London, and I told this on the weekend also, so if you heard it before, never mind, you're hearing it again. So he was quite proud. He came with a jigsaw puzzle. They wanted to catch up. How have you been? What have you been up to in the country? He says, well, I have a great victory. As you know, we live a very simple life in the country, but to occupy myself, keep my mind active, I did a jigsaw puzzle. And friend said, that's very interesting. He says, yes, He says, the remarkable thing is, it's a 12-piece jigsaw puzzle. And it only took me 6 months. This 6 months, 12 pieces, that's not remarkable at all. He says, no, you don't understand. It took me 6 months. He says, no, I don't think you understand. It's only 12 pieces. Says, no, you don't understand. Look on the box. It says 2 to 4 years. So you see, everything fits in like a jigsaw puzzle. And we don't have, in that sense, we don't have to worry about it. But how to evaluate difficult people, or how to evaluate things where we're faced with 3 possible reactions: aggressively running toward it, or running away from it, or yielding to it. Now there's a different position we can have. We can stand outside of that. And outside of that, we can beam as if this realm of myself plus others that we actually call a field. Bhagavad Gita calls it kshetra, a field. We can stand outside and be a knower of the field and do some remote blessing. Understand that this is all our pure consciousness divided up, as it were. That means then that all our wisdom in connection with other people or places or events or decisions can come from an area that is not involved in it. Now, in devotional language, that is taking refuge in God and asking what is the right course, letting go, waiting for the answer, and then with absolute faith and confidence, pursuing the course of action in response to that. So that any decision that has to be made, we have the luxury of pausing a little bit. We can evaluate it, of course, from a human level as well. But more importantly, stand back and let a current flow. This is called intuition. It is also called inspiration, all of these kinds of things, where we have a phrase, it came to me, as if it came from outside. Actually, we know it's all coming from inside. So whether it's in the realm of science, or whether it's in the realm of mysticism, or whether it's in the realm of routine decisions or what have you, there is always a poised moment where we know this is the right thing to do. It's the right response. This right response is another way of saying it is the maintenance of dharma. Dharma comes from a root. That is dharma. That means the thing that holds everything together. And therefore we apply it to law, we apply it to religion, we apply it to all of these things, sanatana dharma, eternal law and all that. But it's not strictly speaking that. It's anything which holds things together in harmony, so that all the jigsaw pieces fit together as they are supposed to do. The nature, what we call nature, is intrinsically harmonious. It's us clever, stupid people that disrupt it and make a stupid world. Nature's not like that. When we interfere with it, then we see things are not running smoothly. We call this not running smoothly adharma. So if we live a harmonious life and tune our attention into the glory of the self or God, then automatically we have access to this inner wisdom. And so we don't have to question, did I make the right decision? That's on the human level, evaluating pros and cons. We can do that, but the last resort is leave it, wait, so that we are automatically, unconsciously shuffling a number of creative ideas around and waiting for our, what we call our 20th elephant. 20th elephant means the familiar story that I've told many times before. I'm not afraid to tell it again. So there was a man who died, and he had several sons, 4 sons, and he had all his wealth in elephants. He had 19 elephants, and he left in his will the oldest son should take half of the elephants. The next one should take 1/4. Next one should take 1/5, like that. Well, that's silly because, well, it's a puzzle. It's not silly. The man was a wise man, and the sons were puzzling over it. What good is 9.5 elephant? What good is half an elephant? Puzzling all of this, 1/5 elephant, 1/4 of an elephant, 4/5 of an elephant. What use is all of that? A royal courtier came along with the royal elephants, saw the trouble, he was a mathematician. So he said, okay, you have 19 elephants. I'll lend you 1 elephant. 20 elephants, now make your division. Oldest son got 10, the other son got 4, 5, like that. They all got their 19. Now please give the extra elephant back to me. So we have to look for what is the 20th elephant somewhere. It's around. And so life then becomes a series of adventures where, with a sense of creativity and confidence in cosmic mind, otherwise what we call God, that the answer will be supplied to us. We just have to have an element of patience and a complete trust in it. Shuffle the necessary ideas around. The ancient teachers understood this. You want to get knowledge from an ashram, you go there to a forest academy. So the Upanishads, Chandogya Upanishad and all that will tell us, yes, come. Will I get knowledge? Yes, but first look after the cows. Increase their population, please. Make sure the herd is increased to a certain extent, and then you can come back. In other words, I'm giving you the freedom to shuffle some creative ideas around. And in the Chandogya Upanishad, we see that one student saw, okay, once the herd was increased to the necessary capacity, then the bull taught him 1 leg of the knowledge, like that. The fire taught him something else. You gaze into the fire, and the mind is just wandering all over the place, but some problem is there. It's there in the unconscious mind. It's being revisited. Suddenly, an aha moment comes. That's the solution. So like that, 4 of these legs are being told. Then he comes back to his teacher. The teacher says, your face is shining like one who knows. What happened? Well, then he described the bull, gave me one leg, 1 foot of it, fire another, the swan another, and so on, and a bird another. Now I'll teach you the rest. I'll teach you beyond that. So in life, we have to learn to do that. We have to learn to trust our inner wisdom. And once we find it, to go with it confidently, without any doubt whatsoever. Don't second guess it. Doubt means, see, there was a man who was walking in a dangerous pathway in a mountainous area and stumbled and fell and managed to catch hold of a branch. And unfortunately, his strength was waning. And so in desperation, he looks up to the heavens. Lord, what will I do? And the heavens opened and a voice beamed forth, let go. Now he's looking down to the 200, 300 feet, jagged rocks. And he says, okay, is there anybody else up there? So you see, would we let go? Sometimes one of the most difficult disciplines we have is letting go. And saying with all faith, my life is being run by a divine helmsman. I didn't have to go to the supermarket to get my breath. When I ate my food, I didn't have to put a spoon down and I digest it. Something happens, it happens by itself, not just for me, but for every creature. Even an insect does it. And that level of faith we should see in all the things. All the resources are supplied to us. All our equipment to get around obstacles and difficulties and problems are there with us, even if they're in the form of people or in the form of sudden events or places or situations. We have to see the divine and all of that as a kind of a play, a kind of a game, in which case we should play the game very well. It's not a vicious game against us. It's not because of our karma or this or that and the other. Or if it is, no point in trying to work out how it happened. What was the cause of this? The past is the past, and you cannot change one small second of it. But the next second you can change. Put something useful in. Second arriving, as I always say, is a blank check, never been used before. Put as much as you possibly can in a positive way inside it, and the next one and the next one, learn the habit of doing that. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, Swami. Thank you.
All right. Well, any more questions? Do we have some people here so they can also ask a question? No questions. Oh, we have 3 enlightened people here. There are no questions at all. Anyway, Ophelia had asked for something on the Ishopanishad. So we can talk about that a little bit. And so if you haven't got a question, I'm on your case. I have a question. So I'm opening it to anybody and everybody. Firstly, have you heard of the Ishopanishad? Okay. Have you studied it? No. Why not? It's a very short thing, but very profound. See, Mahatma Gandhi had said that if all the scriptures disappear, the opening statement of the Ishopanishad would be enough to cover all of the wisdom of the Upanishads. Ishavasham idam sarvam yakincha jagatyam jagat. That much. Just that opening phrase. So that one, Isha means Lord. Now when we approach all these things I mentioned before, the Upanishads don't give this highest teaching first. They lead you progressively toward it. And that makes these Upanishads universal, because every religion will contain some elements of this, what we sometimes call dualism. In the weekend I had just done, I had a whiteboard, I drew a circle. That circle, I put I inside it. Then you see, where is this thing called God, or Bhagwan, or Ishvara, or whatever? Well, it's something that we put way outside. Maybe we bring him in on a Sunday, or maybe at some bhajan session or something, I'll bring him in. Or maybe when we are suffering from something, we're desperate, then all of a sudden we bring him out of the cupboard and attend to him. But if all is going well, we keep him in the cupboard and don't attend to him. And when I say cupboard, you see, in Hindu households, the kitchen is a shrine with all kinds of things. This is what I call the insurance policy shrine. In case Buddha doesn't work, then you've got Krishna. If Krishna doesn't work, then you have Saraswati. If Saraswati doesn't work, some other thing will work. So you see all of that. So you see, this is a kind of insurance policy where we say, we'll bring him in when we require. Otherwise, please stay away. But unfortunately, that means that we're on our own. And then we complain, I cannot manage. And so what it is we can now, so that's called a dualism. I'm here and God is far away. That's a starting point. It's not a bad starting point, but it is a starting point. It's like an infant rolling on its back or rolling on its front prior to crawling. But then you see the crawling takes place because we want some mobility. So the next thing is that we bring that guard closer and we bring that to the edge of the circle. And we realize that without this guard, there's no circle. And then we bring that guard in. What we say is, we see that in the language of the Upanishads, the self, the Atman, in everyone, in all beings, and all beings in that self. The Ishopanishad, if we take it as a primary Upanishad, is part of the Shukla Yajurveda. There are two essentials of the Yajurveda, Krishna and Shukla. So Shukla, white, the white Veda, that essential. So now you see, this Ishopanishad will tell us straight away that that being is covering everything, pervading everything, inside everything. That fundamental position is there. What a beautiful thing. And so if that alone remains, it tells us everything. It tells us, yes, you can make a starting point, it's outside. Then you can have this on the verge. It's inside everything. But then it's covering everything. You are in it, and it's in you. And then that leads you to a position where there's only oneness. And what that means is, if you can imagine the circle with I inside it, God way outside it, then bringing God in to the verge, to the periphery, then inside, and then at one moment you take off the I and you take off the circle itself. And only God is there. There's a final position. But it is the most real position. So coming to these three simple principles, there is only one without a second. This is Brahman. That Brahman is one without a second. It's undivided. What's the problem? It's very simple. You couldn't have anything more simple than oneness. The difficulty is we don't see it like that. We see everything divided, all split up in space and moving in time. We can't appreciate something. You're going to explore it. Imagine now you blink and all time is taken away. It'll be like a photograph where nobody moves. Then you take space away, well, all objects are gone. You can't imagine that. That's the difficulty. And then to say the Atman is one with this Brahman is another difficulty. Because I put myself in a position, in a relative position, calling it a normal real world, and fight with everybody, trying to desperately to survive. That doesn't work. It's giving me difficulties. What I want is freedom. It's there. I can stand outside. And from an outside position, I can then look at things in a proper perspective and have a blessing attitude. So the next problem we have is that it is mithya. It is all apparitional. We don't see it like that. When we say the real world, in science, when it says the real world, they're talking about tables and chairs and people. They're talking about things that we observe. But you see, that's not what we mean by real. And it's not just that it's philosophical. It's not that it's just like a thought experiment. We can observe that yesterday is not the same as today. We can observe that I'm not the same physically as I was when I was 5. You must have noticed when you looked in the mirror. See, in the mirror, you find if you think that you never change, you look in the mirror, you'll get a shock. And then, of course, you may say, I must get a new mirror. That is giving me gray hairs and wrinkles and things like that. Change the mirror is the best thing. No matter how much you change it, unfortunately, it's the same thing. Things change. They're fixed. They're not fixed. And so there must be something fixed that looks at it. So this is the paradox that Yudhishthira finds in the episode in the Mahabharata. When he goes to the lake, his brothers have gone to fetch water. There's a ghost there giving challenging questions. And the most challenging question he managed to answer: what is the most paradoxical thing in human behavior and understanding? It is the thought that even despite everybody around you dies, you alone will never, it'll never happen to you. You will live forever. Well, you won't. Sorry. I'm not so sorry, actually, because it's not a difficulty. Every night we have a dress rehearsal. We go into deep sleep. We vacate our personality and have a dress rehearsal for it. What's the problem? So we hook onto this, what we call a waking life, thinking that is normal, instead of 1/3 of a rotating thing that is going round, a waking, a dreamless sleep, like that. Like 3 balls being thrown up in the air, red, blue, yellow, with an unseen person that is throwing it. The inference is something is behind doing it. We don't see it. Why don't we see it? Because that's our own nature. It is us, pure consciousness, that's all. So Ishopanishad is significant in this. It tells us in the very first stanza something very profound. Ishavasham idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magrundaha kasya vidhanam. Everything there is, everything that exists in this world is enveloped and covered and pervaded by this one entity, this one thing. And that is a Lord, that is some being that arranges a rhythm in the whole thing. Make sure that everything balances, that all the various laws are working properly, that things are spinning, that air is being provided, that a tiny, tiny little dot surrounded by an average sun, a star is working in the outer suburbs of a galaxy where things are breathing and living, deciding, figuring things out, and making technology and looking as far as they can, let's say 9 billion light years away with modern technology, and trying to work out what biology is and all the rest of it. Who could ever imagine such a thing? Don't register for one moment it to yourself. So it says in that same passage, it's not worth registering it to yourself because it's nothing to do with you. It says, therefore, revel in giving up any sense of ownership because it doesn't belong to you. And do not covet what belongs to others. There are different takes on that, different understanding, 2 different understandings of it. One is that you should give up all of that, any attachment to that. But secondly, for whose, don't covet, for whose is wealth. It doesn't belong to you. When we bypass that, when we no longer have this profit active understanding, when we give that up, then we become nice, stable, calm, joyful. Everybody wants that, but nobody wants to do it. If you want to live, on the other hand, instead of directly giving all these things up, going straight there, if you want, on the other hand, to live 100 years, 100 years is said to be the normal lifespan. With modern technology, it might be extended, but 100 years, 100 years divided into 4 sections. Your youth, your social interaction, your retirement, if you will, and then seriously looking for your freedom. So if you want to do that, then perform all your actions That's called karma, but make it karma yoga. Means give up all the fruits, give up all the results because they don't belong to you. You're simply there as a supervisor, or you're there as a kind of temporary agent. Somebody, this is one of Ramakrishna's stories, that you see if you visit a garden and the chief gardener, the supervisor, says, look at this, I planted this is all my garden, see this and that, the other, and so on and so forth. Then he makes an error and the owner fires him. He can't take the garden with him. That's the problem. So we have to re-register a number of things. Instead of saying my body, we say it's the Lord's housing. Ishopanishad will tell us about Ekadwaram, an 11-gated city. So 11-gated city, that means that the indweller of that is not the city. When we identify with the city and all its gates and functions and so on and so forth, then that creates a little difficulty for us. So we re-register it, God's house. Then what about the mind? His inner sitting room. Nothing to do with me. So what should I do? Clean the body and decorate the mind. Decorate the mind through japa, meditation, prayer. That's all I need to do. In revaluing everything, I'm now then removing the key obstacle, which we've been discussing this last weekend with a group of 11 people. And that is this problem of the central egocentric position that puts you at the center of everything and makes you struggle for survival. With a self-image that you are extremely proud of and you have carefully cultivated, and gives you the greatest obstacle that you have for your own happiness and freedom. So there's a little bit of introduction there of the Ishopanishad. 2 stanzas being, well, 1 stanza being taken, 2nd stanza also being taken, being connected. Maybe there's another question.
Lord Krishna himself in the Gita says, we are obviously don't ourselves have the senses or the instrumentation to see him in his infinite glory. You mentioned earlier, so one further step we take is to see the divinity in everything. How should we go about that in daily life?
You see, what you're referencing is the 11th chapter where the cosmic vision is taking place. All right. We're not really looking for that. We have enough small problems all around. Don't take the whole problems of the whole universe on yourself. That's something different. So you see, we get to a point where maybe there's a curiosity to see the totality. We are not equipped to see the totality. So we're equipped to see the fragments. Where we see the totality is in meditation. And when we say the totality, we're not talking of the objective totality. So what you're describing is the glory everywhere. Yes, the whole relative existence there. No, what we mean by totality is that point of poise where actually there's only pure being. That's different. Are we equipped for that? Yes. And when we use the equipment, is there a corresponding movement from the other side? Or in case you didn't hear the question, so Krishna says that for us to see the vision, the whole vision of everything, the cosmic vision, we're not equipped for it. Yes, we'll go half mad because Arjun's request ultimately was withdrawn. Please don't show me this anymore. I had enough. Because you see, if you think that everything is going well and smooth, then you're out of touch with the reality of the universe. in the universe, things crash into each other, things get destroyed. We want a big representation of this universe, have the image of Mother Kali. Mother Kali with benign face in some aspects, and yet fully representing birth, life, and death in its raw state. You look into the night sky, it all looks very nice. Look closer at it, you'll find explosions everywhere, supernova. Even our own galaxy is on a head collision, or the other way around, with Andromeda crashing into us. Another 5 billion years time or something, whatever it is, none of us will be here to think about it. So you see, one of the things that we would like in life, misunderstanding it, we would like all of life to go smoothly. Now, it's a bit like saying, and I'll use the example I always use here, we use it again. So this year we have the Olympic Games. I heard a rumor that the Olympic Committee here in the UK would like you to be participants. They'd like you to be on their Olympic team, and you're in the hurdles. So you write a nice letter back, thank you, we'll practice very hard. We'll accept on one condition. What is that? That you please take the hurdles away. What kind of game is this? So instead of complaining about the rough and smooth of life, which has to be there, otherwise it doesn't function, we have to see how we can take an attitude, sporting attitude, and play the game well. Don't complain about thorns, put tough shoes on. And have an equilibrium, neither too high nor too low, neither high elations nor low depressions. Try to get some evenness. Try to get some steady wisdom, sthita prajna. So Krishna tells us about sthita prajna, somebody of steady wisdom. Asks curiously, how does such a one walk, and so on. It means take an ideal, take a saint or an incarnation or something like that, and really inquire, how do they walk? How do they talk? What do they eat? Try to model your life along those lines. How do they think? What is the inner wiring that makes them special? And do that. So Swami Vivekananda carried he wrote a foreword to it even when he was about 19 years of age. And in his wandering life, he carried it along with the Gita. And that was imitation of Christ. See, imitation of something. You take a model and imitate it. Try and model your life on an ideal of perfection, and we have no shortage of them. So Krishna is an example, Rama is an example. Closer to home, maybe some people would take Ramakrishna as an example, and so it goes on. Even if you take a non-historical ideal, Shiva as an example. And, if you paint 100 pictures of the face of Buddha, won't you get the qualities of Buddha to you? So, any other questions?
Swamiji, when you were describing your circle with the eye and so on,
Yeah.
in my mind I was thinking in the Gita, when you go from Artha to Artharthi to Jignasu and so on.
Mm.
So Jignasu, initially when you say I, you're, people call it the 999 Bhakta. You said you have all these, call on the one that you want in emergency.
Yeah, yeah.
But to remove that circle is like when you start to think about Jignasu and then
Yeah.
emerging is the jnani. Is that the...
Yeah, rather than thinking of it, it's a natural process that happens. So the closer you get, you know yourself in human relations like that. Supposing you discover you have an uncle in Australia you never heard about. He writes to you, I'm your uncle, oh yes, I heard about you. Maybe I saw a photograph somewhere. Then you start corresponding. emails. Then you start making telephone calls. Then you go and visit. With each move, you get closer. Then you understand, so that's a spiritual evolutionary process. And evolution means growth. It means unfolding in its natural way, at its natural pace. You don't go out in the garden and give the flowers instructions. Today you grow 2 inches and take it by the head and get disappointed when the whole thing comes out. No, growth means it's something that happens inside. So inside us, there's the divinity is within us, pushing us forward like a divine helmsman and pulling us from the other side also, giving us every opportunity. Now, most people will struggle. Will say, I don't want to go anyway. I don't want to change. I'm happy with my life, but happiness means at the moment I have no difficulties. That could upset tomorrow. So we're not looking for happiness, we're looking for a level of constant contentment, a kind of inner bubbling joy, a kind of sense of inner rapture that we voluntarily acquire because we fill every second with joyful thoughts. And how many seconds go? There it is. What thought did you put in? What investment did you make? Oh, most people will have a series of those going past. I hate my neighbor's nose. I put poison in their coffee. Why did they say that? I'll give them a piece of my mind, etc. All of these useless things. And all of them will vibrate accordingly in your environment. Your most immediate environment is your body. So people complain, I'm sick. I don't think God made a mistake in constructing this amazing organic mechanism, which we take for granted. It's a kind of factory, very complex factory. And so we take that for granted. We don't give it a thought. But you see, every thought sustained, if we chew the cud of resentment, the whole body would be resentful. We call that illness. I come from Africa. In Africa, I've never met an elephant with diabetes. I know of no lion with cancer. I never met a giraffe, mind you. I never had a conversation like this with a headache. And the giraffe is entitled to one. His neck is so long. And he has to straddle to drink water, see. I'm not sure if he complains. Look how I was constructed. It's used for a kid to catch the top leaves. But it's a pain when I try to drink water. So you see, we have a hugely adaptable nature. So we have the capacity to adapt and change. It's called driving in Indian traffic. So I was telling some people we can learn a great lesson from the Indian traffic. 2 lessons we can learn. One is you have to be quick thinking. You have to be attentive everywhere. You have to have flexibility. You have to have courage, no doubt. You have to be a risk taker. On the other side, selfish. Total selfishness. So try to retain the one and not the other. Well, if there are no further questions, we'll leave it there. Any last one? All right. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swami.
Om